Hey guys, this is your girl Lira, and you're listening to Self-Reflection Podcast. Thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Self-Reflection Podcast. I pray and I hope that this conversation is going to find you in the best light that it can today. Before we get into our conversation, I want to remind you in this moment, if you have yet to create a moment for self-reflection, go ahead and create that moment. Find some time to take care of yourself, prioritize your mental health, your emotional health, and also your spiritual well-being as well, as they're all intertwined. And, the more that we spend time with ourselves, right, the more that we get to understand who we are, the more that we prioritize our emotional well-being, the better we could show up for the people that we love, and most importantly, the better we could show up for ourselves. So if you have yet to do that this week, go ahead and create a moment for self-reflection. I also want to ask that if you have yet to subscribe to Self-Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button as we look to grow our community. It'll mean a lot to me. And for all those that have subscribed to Self-Reflection Podcast, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being part of this amazing community that we're growing out here. I appreciate every single one of you. And also, Happy New Year's to all of us in this year. Again, thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Self-Reflection Podcast. Let's get into our podcast episode for today. Today, we are going to be talking to Hassan, and we're going to be talking to Robert. Our conversation is going to be around parenting, mental health, and also we are going to be talking about our younger generation, which is something that I'm really passionate about because I believe that the future belongs to our generation that is behind us, and the more that we can empower the younger generation, the better I think the future is going to be. So thank you guys so much for joining me on Self-Reflection Podcast. I am going to let you guys introduce yourself, whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. My name is Hassan. I am a therapist for Alameda County Behavior Services, Oakland Children. So yeah, a lot of work with kids, a lot of work with families, all that good stuff. Yeah.
My name is Robert Harrison. I'm also a therapist. I'm finishing up grad school this semester. I went to school with Hassan, so that's how we met, actually.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you and good luck. Before we dive into our conversation about, mental health with kids, what made you want to get into this work? Anyone of you could take it.
Yeah, I'll go. I think it's not even really complicated. For me, it's simple. Like, I really like talking to people, just genuinely straight up, and I actually care about people a lot. So I think for me, it was just like finding a career where I can actually do something where I impact people, but at the same time, like, enjoy myself, like, because I don't want to do nothing that I don't enjoy. And also, like, I do think mental health is really, really important. Like, I think that, like, a lot of times it get downplayed, especially like in like places with people of color, and for somebody that kind of like always been like, I feel like I've been baptized in mental health. Like, people always around me kind of always had something going on. It was always something that just stood out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, it's I actually was in a traumatic event when I was 16. And so what that transpired was a friend being shot. And I didn't have an advocate or a mental health person in my school.
Yeah.
So through a personal experience, I wanted to create who I needed when I was in high school. And so becoming that person is what I've done in the past 16 years now.
Yeah.
And it just transpired, opened a lot of doors, And so becoming an advocate out here in Oakland specifically for people of color has really opened my eyes to do more and go harder in school.
Yeah. So mental health is a big thing, right? And especially for our African American community. So seeing you both like talk about mental health in the way that you do, I think it's such a powerful thing. Why do you feel like in the African American community, mental health has been such a big taboo subject for us to discuss in our homes, in our community as a whole?
For me, I think it's a systematic oppression for what was happening in slavery times and just being in the South of like how they broke up the family. So by you talking to the authorities, you break up your family. And I think that trickled down in a lot of our stuff and PTSD on post-traumatic slave syndrome, not just the traumatic syndrome. And so seeing that and just living in the ghettos, the same thing of people not allowing you to, help your family. They just had their business, you in their business, So I think that's a very taboo. And
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think throughout this whole conversation, especially when you talk about African American, we always gonna go back to slavery.
Yeah.
Because just the effects of that in general is just kind of like rippled out. But also in a sense, I think that the original idea of what like this idea of mental health is, right? Like this idea that you're sick. Nobody wants to be sick, right? Even if we see people kind of like holding things that are like pretty socially accepted, like cancer. People won't tell people that they're diagnosed with cancer. So when you think about like something like, I don't know, like being bipolar, something like that, and it's always come with a stigma too as well. People tend to kind of like be more guarded of those things and more kind of like not want to share because you get judged. And you already kind of like, especially African American, you judged on so many different levels. Why add in something else that can be used against you? And then like, yeah, it kind of like gets interpreted into shame, right? And like jokes, but that's originally like the root of it is that not trying to be judged and be like seen in a bad light.
Yeah. How are you guys looking to debunk that idea on how mental health, someone struggling with mental health is not just you being sick, but also part of like history? Because I think like, generational trauma goes at least like 4 generations back, right? So how are you guys like looking to like make that impact in the work that you do?
Honestly, is to say that you're not sick because this was something that wasn't for you. And so you have so many things going against you. These are just repercussions of that. So if I'm taking away food, housing, and different and jobs, things are going to happen. And so if I come into the office and I'm talking to you, it's to say, hey, this is just what is happening when they strip that away from you.
Yeah.
What's the word? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you start doing things like that, it shows. And it's showing out in Oakland, it's showing out in the Bay Area that the resources being taken from people is just to like create a safe space for you, be like, for you to breathe and understand, like, we can't help you rebuild that, but just you're not alone. That's how I look at it from my point of view to debunk it.
Yeah, I think honestly, there's something that me and you talk on the phone about all the time too.
Yeah.
Like we always trying to figure out like what can you do to kind of like make it more socially acceptable.
Yes.
I think that the bottom line to it is that it's gonna be a long way. Like I said, this idea of like being sick is so ingrained in mental health, right? Like I think it's a movie called like One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest, and it kind of like really like showed like some of the worst possible mental health like cases.
Yeah.
And it created a stigma. And when you think about like stigmas and trying to fight stigma, like a lot of that stuff, like people still think like black people are like have tougher skin than other races, right? Like these things like you fighting like for years. So representation, like we can be there, and if we walk in the room, like the energy change, which we always talk about. The energy changes. I think that's where you start is representation. But as far as like the other work that comes with it, it's gonna be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I want to talk about what you talk about right now. So what you said, talk about when you walk into a room, the energy change. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like as a black man, when you walk into a room, the energy change? And on top of that, how does that make you guys feel?
How much time you got? Nah, but honestly, I think it's a lot of contradiction that goes into it because a lot of people want black males in these rooms, but when we get in these rooms, we don't have anything that's like helping us to be in this space. And I think that's what we talk about a lot. It's like, how do we feel accepted in this space and how our voice should be heard? Because you need that power dynamic of male and female to be in a room to create a balance.
Yeah.
But if it's not heavily in a room, it kind of gets silenced when it's like, who are you to say something if I've been doing this a lot longer? And so that's some of the stuff we fight against. But I think in general, we gotta, I don't want to say separate, but just kind of just detach ourselves from a lot of things to really rebuild, because we have all the answers. And I think in our culture, not even just African culture in general, that I think, I was reading Frantz Fanon and how he went to Algeria and kind of figured out things. He didn't see himself as a black man, although he was from the West Indies. He saw himself as a Frenchman until when he started seeing things that like, he just thought Africans were black, and it was a weird phenomenon from a black man thinking that. So it's like, it's not just United States, it's all over that we have to rebrand and redo a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real gem right there. That's a real gem. I think there's pros and cons to it. Like there definitely is the con. The con is that like they want you there, but they don't want you there. Like we talk, like I said, we talk about these things all the time. Like, it's like before you get there, it's like, oh yeah, we need them. But then when you get there, and if you don't play a role that they want you to play, which 9 times out of 10 is the disciplinary, we don't really want you here now.
Yeah.
Like you're not holding people accountable like they need to be held accountable, which we also already know that like especially black boys are getting held accountable at the highest level possible. Like check the suspension rates, like it's there, right? But they're also like when there's times when we walk into a room and there's a bunch of black boys and they kind of like pause, and it's like the first time I seen somebody that looked like me that's in this space that I don't know how to like work with it yet, but I'm just happy to see you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then from there, it's just really up to you to kind of like build a relationship how you want it to go. But it's a lot of times it is kind of like a little bit jarring for everybody, especially in mental health. Like where this field is kind of like dominated by like white women. Like, that's what it was. It feels like it was founded on. With white women, and it's kind of like we're like the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, and that's why I really like love the fact that you guys are in this space, because like even when you look into like mental health, there's barely any male figures, which makes it hard for the young men that need this type of support to actually get the support that they need, right? We're going to talk about like parenting right now and how that dynamic with their children, when it comes down to mental health, what do you guys see that is like hindering young people or young children to have that connection with their parent with their mental health? If that question makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, it goes back to the resources. Like when you see a parent struggling to do something on the basic needs, that takes a toll on you. And then that trickles down to the kid. Like I worked in a mentor center for the past year. And when I was giving stipends to the kids, the stipend went to the mom or the dad, opposed to the kid who was really meant for, because they're just trying to make ends meet and trying to figure out life. That is like, you have to take the systematic part about it, because on a mental health component side, I don't think that's talked about enough. A lot of things are driving you to go crazy and different, not even go crazy, but just be stressed because you're taking on so much stuff. And then it's like, I think it's two different separate conversations, being diagnosed or just diagnosed with things that are not going your way. And so I think it's another topic that we should talk about.
Okay, so you're saying that because of the lack of resources, more young people are struggling with their mental health.
Yeah.
And then how do we begin to bridge that gap?
Building our own. I think for me, I read books like Dr. Claude Anderson, Powernomics, and just like communities. We don't have communities. We don't have like a African American community in Oakland. There's a lot of black people, but there's no community for us.
Yeah.
And then there's so many different things, the politics of the hood, of just like being from different sides, that play a factor into it. The conspiracy theories that you talk about, the drugs, the different things. Like, it's a lot of stuff that we have to look at as a whole to really take a deep dive into. It's a real sociological lens. I think we all play a part in it, but we can make a difference in it. Like, I'm such a positive person when it comes to that, of making a difference and traveling and seeing different places that it's been done. We just have to go look back in history.
What'd you think?
Yeah. Repeat the question again for me.
So I'm asking, how do we begin to bridge the gap? Because he talked about lack of resources, parents not having that, and how that impacts young people's mental health. So I'm like saying, how do we bridge that gap from not having resources and mental health?
Yeah. How do we bridge that gap? The answer is money, honestly. Like, if you want to boil everything down, it's going to come down to money. Like, if you can't put, like, when I think resources, that's what I think. I think money. If you can't put money in people's hands so they can at a time, like you talk about Maslow hierarchy pyramid, right?
Yeah.
Like, the first, like, entry level is, like, shelter and, like, things that cost money in America.
Basically,
like, if you can't get past that level, how do you reach that higher level of kind of, like, self-awareness and self-knowledge? Like, there's always going to be this kind of, like, gatekeeper in the way of you getting there. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is in that kind of case. The more money you get, the more you're able to self-reflect and grow and change. But we live in America. It's a capitalist society. So,
but look how they did things like redlining. When you go to certain neighborhoods, you can't even buy a house. When my family came from Louisiana, the houses in Hunters Point was $27,000 to $39,000, and that was $1.2 million. it's things like there's so many stuff like we are just set back that really don't help us, and I think that causes a lot of stress to where you racking your brain trying to figure out how to even get to the start line, and then it's like there's no level playing field.
But what if someone says, I'm also playing devil advocate here, but what if someone says, well, look at all the other people that came from the hood. They did it. They came out of the hood. They made something out of themselves.
But what's the numbers? Such a small percentage.
Yeah, but they still did it.
But I think, and not even like to be combative, but that's what's wrong with our society now, because it's like, I did it. We're a collective. Like, we all come from collective families.
Yeah.
And I think once you dismantle that, that's what really breaks it apart. We have one P. Diddy. Look what happened to him. We have one MC Hustle. Look what happened to him. One Malcolm X. So it's like, it's always one person that it's like, we have to stop putting that on one person.
Yeah.
And I think the whole thing, to answer your question again, is hope. When you give kids hope, that's when they can figure out how to look at themselves and have exposure to different things like that. And I think is the answer, is the exposure with the money.
And how should parents like start to show up for their children before the money comes in play? Because, I feel like there could be something being done at home, at least, inside the house before we go outside.
Yeah. First and foremost, like, I'm not a parent, so I do understand that there's a level of struggle that I just won't get. But from somebody that does a lot of like family therapy and work with a lot of kids, the lowest level I could see where you could kind of like start to kind of like make some kind of change is just time spent, right? So like sometimes it could be like having family time where you're playing games, watching a movie together. Like things like those create that sense of community.
Yeah.
And community comes accountability, and it comes like this idea that I have something higher to achieve to. You might not know it yet, but like the fact that my family get together every Friday and we play Monopoly might be the thing that makes you lead you to kind of like starting to buy real estate.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's little things like that, which is kind of like, it seems like a long shot, but sometimes they make a big difference.
What about you?
I think time.
Yeah.
Like loving yourself. I think when you all, like when a family really loves itself and not compare themselves to the Jetsons or different things like that, like really love what they have and what they got, and have like take a step back and be grateful that you still have a unit together. I think you just start with that, the basic things, spending time. And
Yeah. When it comes down to young people having mental health in our society today, what do you guys see is the biggest struggle with them struggling with their mental health?
I'll say social media. I think that's a big thing of just scrolling on something and comparing yourself to somebody that's not living your circumstance. So like you can strive to be that, but if you don't have the resources, again, it kind of takes a toll on your mind of like, just how do I get to that?
Yeah.
And I think to combat it is who you become instead of how. And once they learn that, becoming that person alleviates that, and then you get around like-minded individuals.
What about you?
Yeah. I think it really all comes down to, honestly, just community. Community. The more you kind of like baptize in community, the more eyes are on you, the more it's people that can grab you before you kind of get a little bit too far. Especially when it comes to something like mental health that's so taboo. Like, you need people that you can have real conversations with. And that comes from trust. That comes from like empathy. That comes from love. And you can only build those things in community. Yeah.
I agree.
And all that comes down to like time. And like I said, the reason why we don't got time is because of, like, we live in a capitalist society, and we're in last place because of slavery. Like, it's just, even if people do kind of like, because I want to go back to that, like what you said, it's important that we do kind of like have those conversations, that even if one person does like make it out like, yeah, I figured it out, yeah, but there's a level of privilege to be figuring it out, right? There's a level of like, my mom luckily getting a job at like Kaiser as a secretary, where she had a little bit more money than everybody else in the hood, so we could sit down and play Monopoly like on Fridays. Like, there's little levels of privileges that come with that, but can everybody get that job? Like, it's just, compared to other people that's actually in the hood, it's just no. That's the answer.
Yeah. I say, like, when we look at the statistics, right, more girls and young women are attempting suicide than men, but young men or men are actually killing themselves more than the women are, right? So when you look at that, what message do you guys have for like young men that are battling with some type of mental health challenge, whatever it's depression, anxiety, something as severe as schizophrenia or something like that?
That's a tough one, honestly. I have to sit and think about that one.
What about you, Hassan?
Yeah, it is a really tough one. Like, what is one sentence that you can give somebody that's kind of like feels like they have nothing left, right?
Yeah.
Don't do it. I mean, I think that's the obvious, but at the same time, it's like, you would hope that there would be people, and so I wouldn't really even kind of like try to give them that responsibility. Like, I would hope that there would be people that intercept you before you get to that spot. So instead of giving a message to them, which is like obviously like love yourself and preserve yourself at all times, but to the people that's around it, that sees a person with their head down, like I would more give a message to them. Like, it's kind of on you to see somebody slipping and hold them up. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not really. It's difficult when somebody's in it and fighting it. It takes like years and years of like therapy to kind of like process that and work through it and come out. Sometimes people do it faster than others, but like it takes a lot of work to get there. One sentence really can't cut it. But I would say, if you see somebody, like if you see something, do something. I think that's the best way to go about it. If you see somebody that might be down, anything that you can do to cheer them up. It might just be a word, a conversation. I think that's where you start.
Yeah, we're going to come back to you if you want to think about this. Yeah. But from a therapeutic perspective, when you work with these kids, and let's say they come in and they are struggling with depression, right, which is what a lot of children, especially in high school, are struggling with, what are some tools that you guys work on to begin to better their mental health?
Yeah. I think obviously you got the kind of like the basic stuff, right? Like, so like safety plans and stuff like that. But like I said,
what does that encompass?
A safety plan is kind of like getting with like a trusted adult and kind of like listing out things that like trigger you and like ways that kind of like soothe triggers. And then the most important part of it is highlighting people that you can contact when these big feelings starting to come up, right? But like even within that, like if I was to shove a piece of paper in your hand, so let's come up with a safety plan when you're depressed. Depending on who I am holding that paper to, you matters more.
Yeah. So
like, yeah, we got these things that we do, like the CBT and like all these things, these modalities. But the most important thing is the relationship. Like when people walk into our office, our first priority for us before we do anything, even like safety assessments, is to like build a rapport.
Yeah. Like,
and of course, like if you're good, you can kind of weave that in there. But that comes first. Like if I'm just a random person actually feel okay, like you're more than quick to shoot me of, I'm all right, which is like the thing that you hear, especially with white boys and black people just in general, that I'm all right. Like you hear that a lot. So yeah, I think caring is the first step.
When we talk about mental health in the African American community, and we talk about like black boys and girls as well struggle with their mental health, because I believe that more black men are beginning to commit suicide than they used to in the past. So, and you talk about having, people, that community, right, that supports them. So is it the lack of community that we don't have in our homes and in the community as a whole that's causing, or not causing, but, amplifying the mental health that we have?
I believe so. When you feel like you have the pressure of like being a provider and doing so much stuff, that weighs on you. Because if you can't do it, like there's identity in being a provider. And I think if you can find identity outside of just like the basic needs of taking care of your family, but showing up for yourself, then that kind of like alleviates that pressure. And it's being in new spaces of like getting this off your chest. Like when I first got to grad school, it was a lot of pressure on me. I was the first in my family to do it. And a funny story is like, that's how I met Hassan in one of our classes. And the first thing he said to me was like, I heard about you from other classes. Because you don't see many of us in the class.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's one more of us. I just haven't seen
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And so it's like, that's the same thing I heard. It's like, oh, you know Hassan? I'm like, no, I don't know who Hassan is.
Yeah.
It's like, we just happen to take a class. And, but yeah, just having that community in a place where you could just say, hey, man, this is tough. Like, and having a trusted person, like that's what I call on, because when you get to a certain level, the conversations get different too. You can't go back to certain people and have these conversations of heavy feelings. And so it kind of like takes a level of like self-awareness of like this person did the work himself. And so when he may say something, and it's mirroring, it's not just saying one thing. It's like, I can see myself in this person. And that kind of like really triggers the brain to like, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And like, if we can replicate that throughout a community, that will help everybody.
how do we begin to, I really like what you say, how do we begin to like open up the space so that more Black men, right, could begin to feel vulnerable enough to create this community that you guys keep talking about?
Yeah.
It's $1 million question.
I think that's where the word in itself, vulnerability, come into play, right? You have to be willing to open up to somebody. You have to, and with opening up, there comes a sense of submission. This idea of what masculinity is supposed to look like, and this idea of like, oh, I got to make sure that I'm on top of my game all the time. Like, these things have been proven to kind of lead us to destruction.
Yeah.
And it's not just him come to me. I come to him too. Like, this is what community is. Like, we both kind of like come to each other with big things, and like with the idea of being able to kind of like release some of it. Right. And I think, the more you put yourself in the box of what you think you're supposed to be and how you think you're supposed to talk and how you think you're supposed to sound, the more you go and isolate yourself. And isolation is where a lot of that depression comes from. Yeah. That's where a lot of those like nasty thoughts come from. This idea that maybe the world will be better without me, or maybe the world like doesn't need me. Like, you don't know that. You isolate yourself. You got to get out there and get the community. You got to get with your people. You got to talk to people. And within that comes bumps and bruises, but that's a part of like life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we begin to combat those, as you're talking, and just the negative self-talk? How do we begin to combat that from a therapeutic perspective?
I think challenging yourself at all times, right? So like looking inside yourself, and even when you do got it right, think like, okay, well, let me kind of like examine this from a different perspective. Is there a way where I can be wrong? Yeah. And if I'm wrong, like, that's okay. Like, it's a part of being human. Right, it is messing up. It is getting things wrong, but that looking inside yourself is really the truth. Ultimately, you got to look inside yourself, and you got to challenge your thought process.
Any strategy from you, especially with the younger ones?
The strategies for the young ones is really just sometimes I'm not going to say something. It's just how I model it. And that's a big thing in mentor, is modeling the fact that I'm taking necessary steps. For me, it was to go to therapy, and that changed the trajectory of my family, and just having that like trust in the person. And it was from a white therapist. She didn't say anything, and I'm like, but I could hear myself, and it corrected my self-negative talk. I had this loud voice before I went to therapy, and it just like silence. Once I saw somebody, I could hear myself. I'm like, damn, I sound like that. And you just kind of take the necessary steps to kind of correct that and self-correct it.
Yeah. And talking about self-correcting, what are some steps that you took for yourself and yourself as well?
For me, it was just having a strict routine of like, so I wake up at 4:30, I go to the gym, I eat a certain way, that everything I know that makes me feel good, I try to repeat as much as I can. Even though I might stray off, I still have a toolbox that helped me get to that point, and it just helped me a lot to where it transformed me.
Yeah. How about you?
For me, there is a level of internal processing, right? So like there is a level of like self-upkeep that I do make sure I do, but like a big part of that is like me reaching out to people and like bouncing off ideas with people. Like I think that's something that I personally know like really heavily. Like I reach out to people. Like I humble myself all the time. Like I'm gonna call, I'm gonna see what's going on with you, and I'm gonna expect the same. Right. But there is times like I do journal, like for sure. There is things that I do internally for sure too. But a lot of my things are based like heavily in community.
Yeah. When it comes on to building community, because that's something that we talked about a little bit here, right? How do we like open up the door for other people to feel comfortable to come to us? Because you guys say you go to each other, right? So how did you guys open the door to feel comfortable to go to one another?
I think it was just the level where I was at, having that journey, but also just creating it like this. The key thing is safe space we always talk about, but really making it safe where you can really be you. And I think not having a piece of paper where it's like the assessments, it's like I'm a human being just like you. Like, and you tell your story and be authentic, and people feel that when you show up. And so I think that really helps. Like when we walked in here, everybody had a smile on their face, and it's like that made me feel welcome. I wasn't so guarded of like, I'm nervous. It's my first podcast. But to see everybody like sharing wisdom on cameras and how you shared your story, it's like we all in that level of like self-reflection that helps everybody feel okay. And I think if we continue to do that, it's a ripple effect.
Yeah, okay. Just to say, this podcast is literally the best space ever. If you ever want to record your podcast, Oka Podcast Studio is literally the best place to come to. Before we dive into you, how you allow people to feel welcome, I do want to ask us, if you have yet to subscribe to Self-Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. I greatly appreciate it as we are looking to grow our community here. Self-Reflection Podcast is homegrown, right? We are trying to bring as much mental health conversations to our community, open that door where we begin to feel comfortable and feel vulnerable to be able to say, I might be struggling with my mental health, but I am not alone. So that's where Self-Reflection Podcast comes in, where people from the outside, right, begin to see themselves with the people that show up on Self-Reflection Podcast. And I hope that, we're bringing value to you as well. Hassan, how do you open that door for people to come in? Or how do you advise but encourage other people to open that door?
Yeah. I would say be willing to be a student.
I like
That's
that.
what I think it is. I think no matter, even if it's somebody that's younger than me, somebody that's like in a completely different space from me, like I'm always willing to be a student. And that, now, don't get me wrong, like that comes with me being able to like filter out to, like, you know what I'm saying, the BS,
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I don't have no ego when it comes to connecting with people. Like no matter what I did in what space, like I'm coming, thinking, hoping, wishing that there's something that you can give me. And if you're at the same like level I am, you're gonna get something too. Yeah. And I think humbling myself is always the way to go for me. Yeah.
Yeah. When you talk about being able to humble, right, and we go into our African American community, I think one of the things that hold us back is that ego of like the men, looking at themselves from a different perspective, right? And also bring me to like what I want to talk about is masculinity and how Black men should show up in the world as a whole. What are you guys' like thought about, the way men should show up, or Black men in general?
I can go, yeah. I will, yeah. I don't think there is a certain way that you need to show up, honestly. Like, I think that, like,
with the stigma that society has on Black men, though.
yeah, I think those things are gonna happen no matter what.
Oh.
Like, I think that, like, the fact that your skin color is already got something on it. Like, your best bet is to go out here and be yourself 100%. I think the moment you go out there, try to be something that you're not, is the moment you're gonna run into trouble. I don't think you need to kind of like, and don't get me wrong, of course you don't want to be disrespectful. Like, that's just common human decency, is to show love.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, this idea that you got to kind of dress a certain kind of way, like, I will never subscribe to none of that. Like, I will always do what I want to do, especially with my body, and I will strive to be as successful as I can in that space. Yeah.
And what does masculinity looks like for you?
I think for me, it looks like me being not afraid to show up 100% as myself, whatever that look like. Like, not feeling like I need to lower myself down to in the fear of being like intimidating to other people. Not feeling like I need to speak a different kind of way in order to fit in any kind of space. My intelligence is my intelligence. I'm confident in that, and I think the way I navigate the world, however I want that to look, is going to be masculinity, because that's me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, what about you?
Nah, I piggyback off that, but also for me, it's like having a safe partner who helps me. And so for my lady, she helps me a lot because we have the same perspective and how we see the world. And it took me a while to get to a person like that. I had to do that work to attract that person. So now that I have somebody, when I'm like, damn, this was a tough day, she knows what to say, because she's in corporate America and then I'm over here. It's like I'm in a school, so it's like two different places, but there's a systematic oppression that comes with both white supremacy that really is really hard. And so being with a person that helps me like that also helps me with my kids. And so it's how I want to show up in the world. And so not being scared is like another way of being masculine, is speaking the truth and being authentic. And taking what comes with that when other people may not like that.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off what you just said right now. Having a partner that kind of understands you, but yet you said you did the work to be able to attract that type of partner to yourself, right? And I think that is like a really powerful tool when we talk about like kids and, parenting and mental health, right? So how I guess, how important is it for both parents to be able to be self-aware enough to a point where they can now see their children when they're struggling with their mental health?
Honestly, it goes back to history. I think, like, for me, like, I've been to Africa, I've been to Cuba, and different places where I saw how much powerful where we came from. And so having that history and having that really built inside me shaped my perspective. So when I came back home, I'm like, this place will never know what it really was for us, like, and where we came from. And like, that helped me a lot. Just knowing my history and like just seeing my parents do it, you know, and like, they're a strong couple together and like what that did. So that gave me the tools because it was in the house, you know, and it was the sacrifice that came with that, and understand it's going to be tough, but you have two people that love each other, you can take on the whole world with that. Just that love alone can help. And then it comes with other stuff, but just having that strong foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things that we often overlook, man. Especially because I dive deep into attachment styles, and a lot of that stuff comes from like how you were raised and like the things that you saw and the things that you were accustomed to as a kid. The first foundation for relation that you have is your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Like you rooted from that. So of course nothing is perfect, right? We understand that, and that's a part of life. But at the same time, how you present that to your kids matters a lot more than I think people understand. How I view love in itself, right? So like not only just like romantic love, but also how I love myself. I watch my dad. That's one that we see a lot. I watch my dad be abusive to my mom, and I see myself and mom in some kind of way. Like I can internalize that, and I can in turn hate myself, right? Like there's so many different ways that you can go from like your household, and it's intimidating. I respect a lot of parents because it's a lot on the line navigating that space, but like I said, there's a lot of grace in there because there is a lot of things you could do to kind of like negate it, but it's everything. It's everything. It's the foundation. Your parents are the foundation for where you come from.
When it comes down to like mental health and how children relate to themselves, right? It's based on that attachment that they have with their parents. When they don't see that type of healthy dynamic in the household, right, and they go out into the world and try to build relationship with other people, do you think that that is the type of relationship that they're going to be looking for as well?
Yeah.
It definitely shows up.
It does. It's nuanced though too at the same time. Like, cause like my parents can have a really really shitty relationship, and they can always argue and they can always fight. But I can go to my best friend's house and I can see a healthy relationship every day at the same time, and that could flip that for me, right? So it's nuanced. Like you can always get examples other places, but like people that's like I like to call it like baptizing like shit. Like you baptizing it. It's gonna be on you to kind of figure it out. If that's how you navigate in the world, you're gonna think that like no, we fight. Yeah, that's what I see my mom and dad do. We fight. So if I love somebody, we need to fight. If we're not fighting, I don't feel the love. Right? That's where you start getting these unhealthy kind of like, I like to call them like parrots. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? These unhealthy messages that you kind of gotta do some real soul searching and unpack.
Yeah. You want to add?
Yeah, but I also think exposure kind of helps that too. Getting outside of your neighborhood, if you have the privilege to get outside of that, to kind of just rewire your brain. Yeah. One thing I like about the trauma space is the neuroplasticity. You can learn new things, and having a growth mindset over a fixed mindset. Yes. And so doing different things like that. That's why I like our positions, what we do, because when we are in these spaces, when we worked at high school together, we played basketball with the kids. Nobody was doing that. You know, we weren't just talking at the kids, we were talking with them, kind of checking in how they were doing. And to pick what he said earlier, he had an open door policy. And I used to go sit in his office and see how the kids would navigate and talk to him. And it's like two black men. I was an intern, he was working there. But they had that one person on staff to really be like, hey, just come to my office anytime. And not just on the academic side, but the real emotional side, I think is a key thing. And it's like, he's helping you navigate through these spaces. And like, you need that one trusted adult that can change your life.
Yeah, I love that. I want to dive into two different things, but I don't want to forget it, so I'm going to say it right now. Touch a little bit of attachment style, a little bit, maybe on the educational side of things, and then you also mentioned the brain being neuroplasticity. Like, I want you to touch on that, having that fixed mindset versus growth mindset as well. So whoever wants to attack it first.
Yeah, I'll go. Attachment styles are basically kind of like, and I don't know all the details behind the scenes, like exactly, but attachment styles are basically talking about how it was a study done like where like I believe there were like a bunch of moms that brought their kids in and they watched how the kids reacted to either being left alone or being, I forget the exact details.
I remember that, but I don't remember the name of the video.
But it's basically kind of like saying that like how you attach as a kid is how you attach to like romantic people. Honestly, it goes like like friends, other family members, just relationship, work. You know what I'm saying? It kind of like really just shows how like it's more of a psychodynamic theory too, though. So it's kind of like shows how your childhood really ripples out throughout the rest of your life. Yeah. But at the same time, I always said it's important to know that these things, it can be changed. Like all it takes is one positive role model to flip it for you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It can be changed. But that's the basic of it. I forget the exact details behind all of it. But yeah.
Anxious, fearful, and all of those stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Avoided and secure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
For me, I read a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and she was a Stanford professor. And when I worked in a school, and it was called Hillcrest, it was a juvenile school, I can kind of see like just off my own lived experience, my growth mindset, just yearning to want to do stuff, and not having a fixed mindset, just being from the hood and just like this is it. I started to meet people, and that helped me. But then also on the trauma side, understanding fixed fight or flight senses and how like do a workout can help me calm my central nervous system down. And like that just I knew I was developing a different type of work capacity, just who I was as a person. And that helped me a lot. And then I just kept going down this rabbit hole of like, my brain can change. I'm not just on the side of like, this is it. Yeah. And taking the new information, it has helped. And just doing different things like binaural beats, meditation, I can feel like my brain chemistry really changing. Yeah. And it's like, so when I learned about it, I'm like, oh, this is what was happening in real time, just off of understanding like controlling my breathing. And it's like it's a whole different language in life, but it let me know that I wasn't the same person I was when I grew up, and I was stuck in one side of a traumatic situation. And like I just became a different person.
Yeah, and talking about becoming a different person and changing the identity of yours, right? How important is it for us to accept that fact that that change is important and necessary for us to be able to see ourselves in a different light?
I think it goes to self-reflective and self-love when it comes to things like that. And not being afraid to like leave your old life behind. And, you know, that takes a different thought process to like really, I think there is a healthy isolation as well to kind of like sit with that too, to like, this is where I'm going. And like, I need to let go of certain things and get out of my environment to where you can come back and help your environment. And so I think that's the part of the journey that's life.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to go a little bit personal here for you guys, right? When it comes down to mental health, what are some of the challenges that you guys have faced in your own personal lives in the past, and how did that shape you to the person that you are today?
For me, there's one because my friend was shot 6 times and had to carry him to a hospital, and just witnessing that. And that really took a toll on me. And it's like the culture of coming from my neighborhood of not snitching and living with that, and like seeing my friend's life change, and then going back to school like this was like a normal thing, and no adult sought me knowing that I went through something. That really left a big impact on me. And like the stigma behind mental health, like talking to my parents only one time about it. The next week, and it's a funny story, like I'm at SF State. I got arrested at SF State the next week and caught a felony at 16 because I saw that traumatic event. But getting through those events by myself, like understanding like this is not like, it was a lifelong thing, but also just, I was also a cop at one point in time, out in 2018. And like, that's a real thing that really weighs on you. Like I had a bladed stance, and like, I was like, I had to talk to somebody because I felt like I was going to hurt somebody. Just what you learned in the academy and different things like that. So going to seek that help, that really took a toll on my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you?
Yeah. I think growing up in the hood, you kind of like develop like this natural, normal, like normalized version of anxiety where your senses is always heightened. Yeah. Right. Like, so like I give a good example, like, and this is things that I wasn't aware of until I kind of got out of the hood. Right. And I started seeing different things. Like I remember like my first kind of like couple weeks being at San Francisco State. This is like undergrad, and like I remember like getting in line to like get something from a little snack bar or something like that. And I remember a police officer kind of like got behind me, and I didn't know it at the moment, but like I was going into like all out like flight mode. Like I'm kind of like thinking like, do I really need this? And I'm like, man, you know what? I think maybe he kind of like sensed it.
Yeah.
But I remember he tapped me on the shoulder, and he was like, hey man, go ahead, put your stuff over there. I got you. And he bought my stuff. But it was like the first time like I ever had any kind of positive interaction with police officers ever. But I think to this day, like if I see police, like I trip out a little bit. Like I might just pull over and park.
Yeah.
Just because that anxiety is always there. It's always there. It's the idea that they can stop you and they can kind of do whatever they want to do. Yeah, I think that's always there for me. And it shows up in different ways too. It shows up in like me navigating the world, going to like parties and stuff like that. Like I'm always feeling like a little bit unease. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that because I had a really weird interaction with the police as well. I had just graduated from high school and I was driving one of my brother's cars because he used to sell cars, and I was leaving a friend's house, and here I go with like cops like coming behind me. At first I didn't know like they're coming for me because I'm like, what did I do? And next thing you know, I have like 5 of them behind me, just like they're like, pull over. I'm freaking out at this time. I literally just got out of high school, you know, and once I parked the car, like I just had like a swarm of them just like surrounding me. So that imagery has always like stayed with me, like, and I still have that like not anxiety, but I still have that like thought of like when I see police, I'm like, okay, I gotta be on my best behavior right now when I'm driving, right? Because it's like I don't want to get pulled over, and just having cops like literally tossing everything out of my car, like they took everything. I was like, the only thing you're gonna find in here is basketball and basketball shoes and clothes, because that's all I was all about, basketball. So it was a really intense moment. So even talking about that now, many Black men go through, and women, but mostly Black men go through that struggle between, you know, being seen as human from that perspective, right? How does that make you feel as a Black man, knowing that there's a target on your back everywhere you go?
It's the presumption of guilt that we don't talk about. And that's how the world looks at us. And so if you're aware that, you can kind of get through it a lot easier knowing that it's not true. And for me, that's on them. That's a lot of that stuff is really projection. And we just internalize it to where it's like, everybody in this room do 10 and 2 when they see a cop.
Yeah.
It's just like a natural thing. That's how good they got at it. But if we unwire our brain, that neuroplasticity, we had nothing to worry about. And like I started living my life like that. Like I'm not doing nothing wrong. Like a lot of stuff is projection from people who have self-hate internalized in their own self. And they just make it think like we the bad people, but it's not true at all.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. I like to think about how we even like how like I got to this point of having this level like of anxiety, right? And like even growing up like in Oakland and all this stuff, every time I had a gun pointed at me, it's always been from the police officer. And like I've never committed a crime a day in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that like how we get there is important. Like that's literally like physical force, like have anxiety. Like no matter what you're doing. And I'm not talking about like no handgun. Like I don't had like been pulled over and had like real like artillery like pointed at me for mistaken identity, right?
Wow.
And that level of anxiety that I have with them, I got family that's police officers, and like and they know.
Yeah.
I tell them this all the time, like I don't trust you.
Yeah.
And it's not like they know I'm not serious, but there's still just a kind of like a level of like, man, when you got that uniform on, like something about the respect just leaves my body for you. It just leaves. Yeah. So yeah. It's work to kind of go against that, but you know, you try to accumulate positive experiences. Like at our job, there's a lot of like sheriffs that's just kind of like walk around and like doing checks. Sometimes that throws me off. Like, when they knock on the door, I'll be like, man, what do you want? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though it's like, oh, you okay? And I'll be like, oh shit, like I'm okay. Like I didn't expect you to ask that. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember when I first got in there, I think I accidentally pressed the panic button, and they came to my door. I was like, "Oh shit, what did I do?"
They don't play it up there.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
From you guys' perspective as a Black man, I know you mentioned about just like, focusing on like, I didn't do anything wrong. It's projection, right? How should young Black boys begin to navigate this space without carrying that armor on their back? Like, I need to be on 10 toes every time I walk out my house.
Depending on their perspective, it's kind of good to have that. Just keep your head on a swivel. But at the same time, that it goes back to the stress and the mental health, because you're constantly like taxing your body doing that stuff. And so you just got to get to a self-awareness of like, again, just seeking the right adults, putting yourself in position to like, whether it's asking a trusted adult or just sometimes you get lucky and you get like a self-awareness that just really just takes you to a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emphasis on the word lucky. Emphasis on the word lucky though, because like it's not like these things are imaginary. Like these things are active systems. That's put in place. That's like, we know the areas that's heavily like populated with police officers that's constantly patrolling. And behind all these systems that they got, is at the end of the day, there's a person behind that badge that has their own biases. Like we all got biases. Like it's impossible to navigate the world without them. So I think there's a level of cautiousness that you got to kind of have navigating it. You got to kind of be a little bit more reserved. And it sucks to say, it even sucks to hear it, but it's a situation that we're in.
Yeah.
And it's not hopeless. Like, I don't want to put that message out there. It's not hopeless. There is like place you can get to where you can kind of like obviously I got 3 family members that police officers. Like, that is a big deal. Like, I hear, I'm not going to put their business out there, but I hear how they interact with different people when they pull people over. And I hear how, like, you look like me, so I don't expect worse off top.
Yeah.
So I think there is a level of like, you know what I'm saying, you got to go out there and be active. We got to go. We need police officers. We need firefighters. We need people that will see us as peoples. That's important. But getting to there is, like you said, that's that luck. That's that luck.
Yeah.
Getting to that point.
And exposure. But one thing I want to tell both of you guys, being in that system, it's a level of corruption of like what you see in there that skews your mind. You just want to get home at the end of the day. And so seeing it from both sides, when you seeing people, especially Black people, being killed over the simple as not putting somebody's hand behind their back or just an interaction of control and different things like that, that weighs on your mind to where I couldn't even have a normal conversation with people because of what I'm seeing. Like, if your hand are moving, I'm like, why is she moving her hand so much? Like, what she got? So you're trying to get to a level of like control and safety because you want to get home at the end of the day. And I think that's why those interactions go a lot bad. And it's not to justify anything, because when you get in the academy, you build a belt. The first thing you get is a stun gun. So like when Oscar Grant was killed, I couldn't fathom why he was shot. But being in the academy, you kind of understand, because it's like so much stuff is going on. Those mistakes happen, and it's not justify what happened, but it's like you panic because you have to learn civil law, the constitutional rights. You have to know all these stuff like off the top of your hand to where it caused you to have a mistake. And it's not to, like I said, justify, but it's like a lot of stress and pressure on you. And I think they do a bad job in there because of that, because they're scaring you. This paramilitary thing that we go through, they're scaring you from left. The moment you get in there, it's like, it just, excuse my language, fuck with you to where you don't feel the same. And so that's the product they put out there. And that's the disconnect that's going on in our communities. Even though you may look like me and different things, you have this it really just fucks with you. I'm sorry, I'd like to keep repeating it, but yeah, it's a conversation that we can have. Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
The system is sick.
It is.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just hearing that is like, so they're triggering you, making you like less of a human in a way.
100%.
And then having you go out into the system to patrol people that aren't.
Yeah. So like in San Francisco, when you go to the academy, there's nothing but white officers on the wall. I'm talking about 1900. So you're seeing like from back in the day.
Yeah.
Then it's also 2,000 cops versus a couple million people. So it's a us versus them mentality already. And they telling you that, like, it's us versus them. And so you could be white or black, but it's like, you got my back because it's not so many of us.
Yeah.
So you kind of go into it with that. And then it's like, you're going through so much stuff that you seen people leave and just because they can't take it no more, to where it's like, when it's only like 13 of you and then you give it to other people, it's like, okay, those are my people. And it's like, it's a lot that go into it, but it takes a lot to unwind that and like to get out of that mode, because it's like,
We're almost coming to the end of our conversation here, but I want to kind of touch on that a little bit and like just speak from like, I don't know wherever this is going to come from, but I think it's important that whatever the police system to understand that like it should never be against us versus them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when we look at life from the human perspective, at the end of the day, police officers are somebody else's child or brother or sister or mother, right? And when you guys come out here, you guys are interacting with normal people that are somebody else's brother or sister. So planting this seed that it's us versus them is the reason why the society is fucked up the way it is. And I think whatever political system that is out there, that if they come across this video, right, I think the more that we can break away from that mentality of like it's us versus them, right, the better and healthier our society is going to be. And the more people are going to be receptive to accepting police officers in their space and stuff like that, you know? So, it's never against us versus them. But before we end this conversation, because we're almost done here, I want to ask, because if you have yet to subscribe to Self-Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. I'll greatly appreciate it as we look to grow Self-Reflection Podcast, right? This is a podcast that is, I hope that it's going to be sitting in your living room. You guys are going to be talking about it because this is a conversation that I feel like many people should be talking about it, especially colored people, right? So go ahead and hit that subscription button if you haven't, and share this conversation with one other person that you feel like might benefit from this conversation. We're going to end this conversation with the topics that we started with, which is mental health and that family dynamic, right? As we close our conversation today, and you guys are coming from that mental health perspective, what are some tools you guys can give the families to begin to use at home to support their loved ones that are struggling with mental health? And how should, let's say a child, a girl, or boy is struggling with their mental health, how should they begin to express that mental health challenges that they're facing? Or should, how should they feel vulnerable enough to want to talk to someone? Because sometimes that's the case.
Yeah. I want to give two things. The first thing is that, like, if you can afford it, like, you should get therapy. There's a website, Open Path Collective, where they got therapy for really, really affordable. And I'm not talking about like one-on-one therapy. I think a lot of time in the Western world, we try to like focus on this like individualistic kind of like mindset. But if you can like pay $80 or like sometimes it'd be cheap as like $50 to get decent family therapy, like that could do a lot to kind of like reset the system and like give your kids a good like leap pad to leap from, right? I think that's really, really important. But also I think increasing family time. The more that y'all spend in community, the more like these positive things get reinforced. That's it. All comes down to that. Like, how much time are you willing to put in? Yeah.
For me, it's getting out the technology. You know, we big on cooking, and so cooking, spending family time like that, and just really talking and just sharing the wins of the day is like the biggest thing. And just kind of focus on that way. And even if it's like a single parent household, it's the same thing, just being intentional and understanding like you only have so much time with your kids before they grow up and, go out to the world. So it's like, if you have that in the back of your mind, focusing on that helps a lot. Yeah. And also just giving grace, because people only know what they know.
Yeah, talking about giving grace. Before we end this conversation, I had saw this video of, I believe her name is Dr. Cheyenne Bryan. And she's really big on mental health. And she was talking to this one lady, and she was saying something about the line of, your parents dropped you, they fucked up, something along those lines, right? They allowed you to navigate this world by yourself. And this lady was an adult lady, maybe in her 30s or something like that. What do you guys' take on that, especially when it comes to, saying that the parents dropped her and they fucked up and so forth, working with parents and children at the same time?
Yeah, for sure. I could go on about that for an hour. Me personally, like, I work with a lot of kids, but I don't do, like, I'm not just doing one-on-one therapy. Like, you're going to have to come be a part of this. Like, we're going to do family therapy. That's a big part of it. Like your parents drop you. I agree. Yeah, at some point, like, and it's not saying that they purposely did it. Like, things happen. Life is hard. Yeah. And trying to raise kids in a world where everything seems like it's going against you could be the most difficult thing in the world. But at the end of the day, I'm not. I could sit there and fulfill that role for your kid, but we'd rather have you do it because that's where that real impact happens. That's where that real change happens. It happens in that direct lineage, Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's understanding like how to get wraparound services. And so with the wraparound services helps a lot to where the parent is taken care of too. Because if you just focus on the kid, you're kind of sending them back into that environment without helping the parent. And so with those wraparound services, with a person like this, that's going to help because everybody's being addressed and they're kind of being heard. Because sometimes we don't even ask parents like what happened. And they just grow up. Yeah. And it's like they're stuck in certain patterns.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I have my own thoughts about that, because I could see that conversation be like, your parents dropped you, they fucked up. If you were like maybe in middle school, high school, right? You're still a young teenager. But as you get older, you become an adult, it becomes your responsibility. Your mental health becomes your responsibility. And that's how I see that. And I'm not a parent, but working with parents and looking at things from a parent's perspective, I also think that, like, especially for our African American community, I also think that our parents grew up in an era where mental health was not a big conversation, right? They didn't talk about their feelings. They didn't express their feelings. And some of them didn't even know. Sometimes I have to teach my mom stuff about mental health. So it's like, I think when we look at that spot, we need to give grace a lot to the parents as well, because I know parents that grew up in the slave era, right? I know people that saw things that they shouldn't have as parents. So, I don't know. I have a weird feeling about that because I like to be able to say that your parent was another person's child. And at some point they was a child, yeah.
I want to speak to that though, because I think you got a good point. But I think that a lot of times we see people process a thing in real time. Because a lot of people aren't going to therapy, and they might get stuck at that stage right there, right? Where this. And don't get me wrong, sometimes parents be messing up. Like there's some like really traumatic stuff like that happened to people out here that it is a direct kind of like, yeah, my mom did this, and yeah, that happened. But I think that we even those people, you kind of like got to give them grace to some extent, right? Like they're trying to like navigate and conceptualize the world, and within that. Like, yeah, it's the easiest one to go to. So, and it's important too. It's important. Those feelings are important. They mean something. Being able to grab onto those feelings that like, yeah, my parent let me down. Like, there's a lot of work to be done in that.
Yes.
Right? Like, one of the things I like to say is that from ages to like, I think it's like from 5 to like 11 or 12, right before middle school, your parents are the superheroes.
Yes.
Right? And then they become irrelevant for a couple of years. But then at some point, they need to become human. And when you hear people saying things like, oh, your parents dropped the ball, it's kind of like taking your parent from that superhero role and making them human. It's the first step, right? When you can admit that your parents messed up, like that's when you start building. That's when the work is ready to be done. Like my parents messed up. Now, where do I go from here? But getting to that point, some people still holding on their parents as superheroes. Right? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where you hear a lot of that conflict that like, man, my mom did this and this. Well, like, yeah, your mom's human. You know what I'm saying? But we got to give those people grace. They trying to work it out, and a lot of times they're doing it on their own. Using things to cope. So
yeah, I do agree. Like I do agree, giving everybody grace. Like from the child to the parent. Being able to keep that more open and keep it from that human perspective. Because I think parents do a lot, and I think most parents don't go into becoming parents saying, I want to fuck this relationship up with my child. So so in my opinion, that's like a space that we got to be, I don't know, more gentle about. And yes, not keeping them superheroes for the rest of like having that understanding.
I just think from my point of view, like my dad's an addict and he can only let me through his addiction. One of the things I was kind of yearning for is he couldn't give me what I needed. And only the time I would hear something is when he was using. And so with that grace, it takes a level of acceptance. And it's on me to build a better relationship to where, since I got a privilege to beat him in a health space, I start really doing the self-work. And it's like, now it's not even tolerating somebody, but it's like sitting down with somebody like, damn, like it is hard. Because that 80s epidemic, we don't even talk about that. Like that really did a number on the community. And it's like, we're still facing the repercussions of that. Even some of the people we work with is because they're a direct lineage of that, of like their parents' using and how that messed them up. And like, it's so many stuff that goes into it. But yeah, like people don't choose that. Like you said, I like how you said that. They don't.
Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Self-Reflection Podcast. I want to say thank you both, Hassan and Robert, for coming onto Self-Reflection Podcast. I really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we could have talked for hours if we really would just had the moment here, and thank you both again for the work that you guys are both doing, working with families and the kids at the same time and working with the youths. I think that's a big need in our community. That's something that we need. And I do hope that like more Black men, color men will begin to feel vulnerable and open. And I also feel like there's that trust factor that needs to happen, whether it's from the individual perspective or that community perspective as well. And I really appreciate you both for being, I won't even say the pioneer, but like being people that are in that space trying to grow this network of Black men becoming more aware and raising that awareness in our community. Much needed. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining me on Self-Reflection Podcast. I'm grateful to all of you guys. I hope that this conversation found you in a great light. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Self-Reflection Podcast, I want to remind you, please go ahead and hit that subscription button, because that is the only way we can continue to grow. And the more we grow, the more people that we can bring on the podcast and the more people that want to actually come on the podcast. So that follow, that subscription means a lot, right? Also, if you feel like this conversation can benefit a brother or sister of yours, please go ahead and share it with them. We don't want to be gatekeepers when it comes down to mental health. Y'all could be gatekeepers with money and all of that other stuff. But when it comes down to mental health, we want to be able to open that space and open that door so that we can start to heal from the inside out. Mental health is something that is big in the African American community, in the Black community. And I think that the more we can begin to talk about our mental health and be open and be vulnerable about our mental health, the more that we'll begin to heal, and we can heal that parent and child dynamic relationship as well. Thank you guys again so much for joining me on Self-Reflection Podcast. I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Take care of yourself, love yourself, be kind, and be gentle with yourself. Until next time. Wait, hold up. Before we go, 2 things that I got from here is attachment styles, right? Maybe go and look into that. Find out what kind of attachment styles you have for yourself. And then the other one I got from Robert here is having a growth mindset, right? Allowing your brain to expand, to grow, because your brain can grow. Those are the 2 lessons I got from this conversation. I hope you find something for yourself. And also comment below what you learned from this conversation. I hope you have a blessed day. Take care of yourself, love yourself, be kind, and be gentle with yourself. Until next time, you're listening to Self-Reflection Podcast, and this is your girl, Lira. Ta-da!